Yo, today we have a manga haul. I'm not too sure how many volumes I have, but the title will say exactly how many. Mostly shonen, if I'm being honest, just getting up to date with the collection. And we're going to start off with Fire Punch. I picked up volume 1 sometime last year, and I managed to collect the rest of the series, and I've read it all in its entirety now by Tatsuki Fujimoto, who's currently doing Chainsaw Man. And yeah, it's a revenge story. It starts off with, from there, he kind of progresses and understands what it means to be human and evolves a lot more empathy. Classic Fujimoto. He has a lot of stunning panels, very expressive with these characters in terms of their facial expressions. The humor is like very dry at times and very unexpected. There was a scene, not really a spoiler, where one character is holding the head of another character whilst the main dude is trying to catch them to stop them from throwing around the severed head. All at the same time, somebody's just an onlooker thinking to themselves, what are these two weirdos doing? It sounds quite horrific, but it has some really touching moments. But definitely a good read. If you enjoy Chainsaw Man, you'll probably enjoy this. Does have a bit of a weird ending, but I don't think an ending should ruin a series' entirety. And following on from Fire Punch, we have volumes 12 and 13 of Chainsaw Man. Yeah, I can't really say much other than it's Chainsaw Man. It starts off with a new character, so I guess you just learn about them and what their connection to Denji is. I know he is in it. Mixed responses from it, but I think it's going to be good. If you enjoy his works again, Tatsuki Fujimoto, just collect it. Volume 20 of Dragon Ball Super. I think this is the end of this current arc. I don't know what it is because I haven't read it yet. I've read the previous arc. I feel like Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball and Super all are different in the way they approach their storytelling. You're just watching the two main characters who are strong as anything fight a bunch of other characters who are apparently strong. They end up not being so strong. This arc could prove me wrong, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get around to reading it at some point. And then Undead Unluck. This is another ongoing series with Shonen Jump. It's hard to explain what Undead Unluck is because it doesn't really have a theme that I can tag onto. It's very difficult to read the first volumes because the main character is naked a lot of the time because he can't die. So he always ends up blowing himself up and ends up reviving himself, and he's always naked. The girl that he's partnered with kills people when they touch her, so he just spends his whole time groping her to set off her bad luck to kill the people around her and him, and he just revives and everyone else kind of stays dead. It picks up like volume 3 or 4, and then it kind of goes into a proper shonen series as a good direction that it's going to. Obligatory One Punch Man. I always read these when they first come out, but the last couple I haven't. I think just because the Garo arc is going on for so long, I kind of just want to binge the whole thing, and I'm kind of waiting until it's all physically out before I can read it. But it's One Punch Man. If you're enjoying it, I think you'll just continue to enjoy it. And then another series similar to Undead Unluck that had quite a mixed response in terms of the first volume. Dun Dun Dun. I picked up volumes 3, 4, 5, and 6. Aliens and yokai lovers meet, and they try and like persuade each other that the other is real. They kind of just get caught up in aliens and yokai, and they both end up believing. There's a small, it's not really romance in it. I mean, it's a boy and a girl. You think that there's some sort of relationship. Definitely new age shonen. It's got some really funny moments in there. The battle sequences are really cool. The designs of the yokai is pretty creepy, but it's all parts action and comedy. What I do like about the series is that, or the physical prints specifically, when you have a volume, it has one character in the background and one character in the foreground. The character in the next volume that is in the foreground becomes the character in the background, and then there's a new character in the foreground, and then they move back to the background, and then a new character in the foreground, and so on and so forth. And then I picked up Blade of the Moon Princess. This is by the same mangaka who is producing Spy X Family. They also did Tista, which was a terrible read. I thoroughly hated it, but it was just terrible. And hopefully this one isn't as bad. I think it's 6 volumes. Looks like some sort of like samurai-esque. I haven't even opened it, but I do like the cover. It looks really nice with the text on the side. Hopefully it's good, and it's always interesting to see a mangaka's journey from when they started to what they're currently doing now. And then I picked up Dark Gathering. I've only read the first volume. It's listed as like a horror series. I wouldn't call it horror. I'm not particularly scared, but it is eerie. I would say. There are a couple of panels that kind of creep me out. The main dude is a tutor, and the girl that he is trying to teach is really interested in ghosts. And unfortunately for the tutor, he like attracts ghosts like the plague. So they try for like a barter system of like, if I teach you, you will pay me and I will let you use my ability to attract ghosts to look for the ghosts and hunt them down. And that's basically it. It's pretty cool. The main character has these weird ghost eyes. Instead of like normal irises, they're like skulls. Very, very strange. But yeah, it was quite enjoyable. I'm looking forward to reading the next couple of volumes, and hopefully it progresses and gets a little bit better. And the series that has probably gone up in my like favorite series so far is Kaiju number 8. Not just because the anime's come out and it's super popular and everything, because I haven't even watched the anime, but it's just so good. As shonen goes, it's your typical bread and butter. It's a demon series as well. The main dude can turn into a demon effectively, or a kaiju in this instance. But it's the character relationships that really do it for you, and the other characters that get involved. And where it stands now, there's quite a big impact. It feels like it could be coming to the end. I've stopped reading it online, so I don't know if it still feels like that. But there's like this big chase at the end of volume 8 and 9, and it feels like it could be maybe coming to the end in the next like 5 to 10 volumes maybe. But it's really good. I think if you are into any kind of action shonen, this is definitely a must pick up. Plus Kafka Hibino is 32, so it's nice to see some sort of older representation in shonen. Then I picked up, maybe a little bit reluctantly, volumes 2 and 3 of Ayashimon, same mangaka who did Hell's Paradise. Didn't really kick off like Hell's Paradise did. I think it was more shonen. The characters were younger. There wasn't really a story per se. Spent too long, I think, in the first arc explaining and training. It was okay from what I remember. And then we have Sakamoto Days. This is also another one like Kaiju number 8 that has definitely gone up in my definitely need to read as soon as I buy the latest volume. It doesn't feel like there's an ending in sight, but it's assassination. It's an assassination series, and the art is fantastic. The fighting is phenomenal. Again, a couple of the characters are a lot older than you would expect from a shonen series, especially from a weekly Shonen Jump. And though I've mentioned that twice, it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really take away the fact that they shouldn't or should be in, you know, a young man's magazine. But it's great. It's on the borderline cusp of like Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man, where there's not a lot of death, but there's a lot of like gruesome action scenes. I think that adds for like shock factor when you're reading. The story in itself is good. It's quite fast paced. They don't linger too long in specific areas. The characters are really interesting. There's a couple of like badass females in here as well. These two in particular. This one's absolutely mental. She's got this like long range gun that has also got an axe at the end. So it's close and ranged all at the same time. Absolutely crazy. Marriage Toxin was one that was on my radar from last year. It's hard to describe, and I'm not really too sure if I enjoyed it. I think I'll need to give at least volume 2 another go. I can't really call it an assassin series. The main character is an assassin, and he comes from a long line of assassins. He needs to marry someone, so his sister, who is his older sister, doesn't have to marry anyone and produce an heir for the family. So he decides to marry so he can do that instead, so she can be happy in her love life. Unfortunately, the person he picks in such an abrupt way ends up being, I think, either a con artist or some sort of killer. He's kind of picked the wrong person. I can't really remember why he picked her, but yeah, she ends up getting captured a couple of times. He has to save her with his poison abilities, but it was okay. Again, I'll probably give it another volume or 2 before I come up with a formal conclusion. And that was everything for my shonen, I think. The rest of it is seinen. I thought it was a lot more shonen than it actually was, but clearly not. Boys Abyss, volumes 2, 3, and 4. This is the biggest train wreck that I've read this year. I'm not too sure if I'm looking forward to the next volume or if I'm worried that it's currently at 18, maybe 19 volumes in Japan, and how long I'm going to see the main character suffer. It is a drama series. The main character lives in a remote village. Nobody really pays him too much attention. He's not particularly standoutish. And then one day his idol that he idolizes shows up in his town, and just the drama ensues. So many people take advantage of him, his purity, members of his family, close friends, people that don't really know him and get introduced throughout the series. And it's just interesting to see how they try and manipulate him and how he kind of reacts to those situations. Yeah, it's just one of those series that it's a big car crash. You can't take your eyes away from it. And it's very difficult to say too much without spoiling anything. It is quite explicit. There's no like death, but it's quite... Well, it's got the explicit content, but it's quite sexual, I will say. This is one that I'm not too sure if it's Seinen or Shonen. Probably is Seinen. This is Hakume and Mikochi. This was recommended by Less Than. I picked up volume 1. I haven't read it yet, but to make myself pick up volume 1, I decided to pick up a few more volumes so I can have a good binge. I heard it's quite nice. It's quite cheerful, and it looks quite, right up my alley. I'm really into fantasy, so hopefully it'll... oh, it's got some really nice backs, actually. I've never looked at the backs. This one looks nice with them just like having some tea in a dark, dingy dungeon. And this one of the characters is just sleeping with some berries. Yeah, all I know is that the main characters are small, tiny people. I don't know if they're like fairies or anything, but it looks cute. I'm looking forward to reading it. Insomniacs After School was another one that's been recommended, and picked up volume 1, 2, and 3. I don't know anything about this one, unfortunately, but I heard it's nice. I presume it's a romance of some kind. Probably, if I can guess from the title, 2 kids can't sleep and they spend time with each other, and then they end up falling for one another. Hopefully, maybe, who knows. I didn't quite know where to put this one, but I stuck it in the Seinen anyway. This is Cross-Dressing Villainess. I've picked this up just because I want to pick up a bunch of isekai for Isekai Month. Caitlin did this last year. I don't know if she'll do it again, but I want to read a bunch of isekai. And this is one of the ones that she recommended, so hopefully it's pretty good. I did try and read it a while ago, but I only got like 3 pages in, and then I fell asleep. Then we have Atom, the beginning. This one's coming out a little bit too slow for my liking. This is the beginning of Atom, aka Astro Boy, and one day I will pick up Astro Boy. And then continuing my love for Attack on Titan, I picked up volumes 1 and 3. I've had volume 2 for so many years, never picked it up. And yeah, I don't think this is going to be anywhere near as good or interesting because this happens before Attack on Titan, but it went on for like 18 volumes. So this is enough for me to get started to see if I actually like the series. And then Die Dark, volume 6. I cannot sing this praise enough. The story is going almost nowhere. It is very episodic, but it's long episodic. So things happen for like a whole volume and then it moves on to the next thing. It's one of those series where I don't think there will be like a proper ending. If there is, then I think the main character will have to, I don't know, the series will have to go in some sort of direction pretty soon. But it's great. It's filled with dark humor, sorcery. It's just entertaining. And it's bloody and gory, and the characters are just funny. That's all I can say. Kyu Hashida also did Dorohedoro, so if you liked her artwork, it's very much similar. A new series, again, recommended by Less Than. So I picked up volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of Dead Dead Demons, Dead Dead Destruction by Inu Asano. It was pitched to me as an alien invasion series, but it's not. It's a slice of life series with an alien invasion in the background. It's typical Inu Asano in the way that he tells his stories. This one, at the moment, as far as I've read up to volume 6, is not very depressing per se. Just a bunch of kids going through high school, and it just so happens that there's flying saucers above them, and only recently have the aliens started to show up, so you're starting to like see their perspective on everything. I'm quite enjoying it. There's no particular character that I dislike. Inu Asano always has a few characters that are just so unbearable, and it's scary how realistic he writes a lot of them. Also, what I like about the series, specifically the physical print, is that it has these really nice French flaps, and when you open them up like this, you get this really nice picture. It's such high quality. They just look really, really nice. I wish I could somehow, I don't know, display them. And speaking of Inu Asano, I picked up the entirety of Goodnight Pum Pum. Now, I actually picked a couple of these series up late last year, but I just haven't had time to show it all off. This I actually picked up in September. I picked up volume 1 just for a quick read, and then it was so good. It was amazing. It's a coming of age series for these young little kids. A specific event happens for them, kind of like the movie Stand By Me. That's what it felt like. A bunch of kids going on an adventure, not to see a dead body, but to see something. And some stuff happens, stuff that you wouldn't tell your parents. And then from that, the series, the events that happen in Volume 1 change the main character Punpun's life. I can't even say for the better or for the worse, but it changes his life and how he treats other people. And it's really scary how realistic Inu Asano writes his characters. Not to say that I resonated with Punpun and some of his decisions. However, I can see how he came to the conclusion to make up his desire to do the things that he did. I picked up volume after volume every single other day. All parts happy, depressing, motivating, and filled with sorrow. I would recommend it for anyone probably over the age of like 25, 28. You'd have to really live life to appreciate all the decisions he's made and the impact that is made on him. And then just to wrap it off, I got a couple of like Shojo, Josei series. Children of the Whales, I picked up 1, 2, and 3 last year sometime. I picked up these ones just because they were cheap. This one was 3 for 2, so it was effectively free, or like, I don't know, £6 something. And this one was 99p. Then volume 13 of Banana Fish. It's another series that kind of just gets thrown to the wayside. Don't really pick it up with intent. It's kind of like, if we need a 3 for 2, we just go Banana Fish. One day we will have the full series. And then lastly, I picked up The Summer Hikaru Died. I really, really wanted to read this. I read volume 1, and then when volume 2 came, I kind of forgot, so I read through volume 1 again, and it is all parts creepy and eerie, from the unforeseen mysterious entities that the characters interact with to the facial expressions that some of the characters pull. Quite unsettling at times. Again, I think it's down listed as a horror, but I wouldn't class it as such. I think this is a shoujo or a josei, someone says. I keep forgetting, but it's good. One thing I was a little bit upset about, I think at the end of volume 1 or volume 2, there was a bonus chapter, and the bonus chapters with most manga is either hit or miss. This one you have to read it because it really adds to the story, and it kind of confirms what you think about the two main characters. And if you bypass it, you might not necessarily know that if you continue reading the series, which is a bit weird that they've included such an integral part of the story to a bonus chapter. That was the entirety of my manga haul. That was a manga haul probably mostly from January, to be honest, and then a couple of other series from like late December and everything. And yeah, I still don't know how many it was, but it will say somewhere down there on the title. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Now we're going to put them all away.